This review of the SA Off-Road Car Racing Championship is proudly presented by ABSA. For fast, flexible vehicle finance, contact your nearest ABSA branch or call 0860 669 669 or visit absa.co.za. The majority of the category and class championships in the SA Off-Road Car Racing Championship presented by ABSA, which have been closely fought affairs in both the production and special vehicle championships, will only be decided at the Carnival City Casino 400 on November 14 and 15. In the production vehicle category, proudly South African Nissan crew Hannes Grobler and Richard Leek wrapped up the overall and Class T championship when they won the recent Toyota Dealer 400 in the Leidenburg area. This was Nissan's 14th successive victory and Grobler and Leek's 9th win in 10 outings. Newcomer to off-road racing, Mark Cronje and veteran co-driver Chris Birkin clinched the Class E championship when they finished 4th overall and 1st in Class E in the Castrol Toyota Hilux 2.7i in Mpumalanga, and in the process also secured the runner-up spot in the production vehicle championship. Teammates Kasi Kutsia and Oke Fourie in the Castrol Toyota Hilux KZTE have secured 3rd place in the production vehicle championship and are the runners-up in the Class E championship for 4-cylinder vehicles with limited modifications. Hein Grobler and Gerard Prinsloo in the GBS Racing Nissan Hardbody are 4th in the overall championship and currently lead Class D, which has been closely contested all season long. The Carnival City Casino 400 will decide the Class D championship for 6-cylinder vehicles with limited modifications, with father and son Johan and Martinez van der Merwe in the Shivani Colt Rodeo, who are 5th in the overall championship and 2nd in the Class D championship, and Dion Skuman and Jeremy Fall in the top car Ferrado Nissan Hardbody, all in with a chance of winning the class championship. Reigning production vehicle champions Duncan Foss and Mike Griffiths are 6th in the overall championship and 3rd in the Class T championship, only 1 point behind Scott Abraham, who will make a special trip from Germany to compete in the race, and co-driver Richard Carolyn in the Atlas Copco Chicago pneumatic Jeep. A strong finish in the season finale will see them gain a number of places in the overall championship, but matters are not that clear-cut in the Class T championship, where there are 3 crews intent on grabbing the runner-up spot away from Foss and Griffith. RP Reineke and Robin Houghton in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser, who are 7th. 10th placed Janelle de Villiers and Francois Jordan in the proudly South African Nissan Hardbody, who will miss the race. And 11th placed Neil Woolridge and Ken Schulthammer in the Team Ford Racing Ranger all have what it takes. And this battle for the runner-up spot in the Class T championship will be watched with great interest. The Special Vehicle Championship and the Class A, B and S Championships are wide open and will only be decided at the Carnival City Casino 400. There are a handful of contenders who are all hell-bent on wresting the championship lead away from Gil Nel. Former Class B champion Nel has been a model of consistency in the single-seater Look Africa Truggy and has been involved in a season-long battle for the Special Vehicle Championship lead with Class A championship leaders Gerald Mandel and Billy Bond in the Prolong Bat. Only 27 points separate them in the Drivers' Championship, while Bond leads the Co-Drivers' Championship by 5 points from Mark de Chelane in the Rollerbuck Racing JRE. Clint Gibson and Mike Brown are 3rd and 4th respectively in the overall Drivers and Co-Drivers Championship by virtue of 3 successive Class B wins in the Presidium Financial Services BAT and a 2nd overall on the Toyota Dealer 400 in their new Class A BAT. The KwaZulu-Natal crew had the race in the bag until they wrong-slotted within sight of the finish and handed the win to Mark Corbett and Johan Moore in the Century Property Developments BAT. Reigning Class B champion and KwaZulu-Natal farmer Marcus Taylor in the Roller Buck Racing JRE is fourth in the overall standings and second in Class B, while partner Mark de Chilane has already sewn up the Class B Co-Drivers Championship. Queen Motorspare's Tarka 400 and Sun City 400 winners Gary Berthold and Brandon Harkes in the Adrenalize Corporate Entertainment BAT have rocked up the leaderboard and are fifth and third in the Drivers and Co-Drivers Championships respectively. They are capable of winning the Carnival City Casino 400 overall, which could secure them the runner-up spot in the Special Vehicle Championship and the Class A Championship. Nick Gosler and Warren Bowie in the O'Hagan's Kopanong Hotel Super Team Raceco are sixth overall and co-leaders with Muhammad Noor and Muhammad Molson in the Super Veg Raceco in Class S. Neither crew entered the Toyota Dealer 400, so their championship battle will only be settled on the Carnival City Casino 400. Andrew Birkin in the WPP Wingfoot, John Moore and Fred Werner in the Shell Connex Chenoweth, and Terence Marsh and Trevor Ayer in the Nashua Mobile Gymco are 8th, 9th and 10th respectively. The 2002 Carnival City Casino 400 was closely contested right from the start, with reigning champions Janelle de Villiers and Francois Jordan leading for most of the event in the Nissan Hardbody. The Production Vehicle Championship crown was up for grabs, and one of the contenders for the title was the Nissan crew of Duncan Foss and Mike Griffith in the Class D Hardbody. Neil Woolridge and Ken Schultheimer were in contention, but their run came to a crashing end when the front suspension on the Ford Ranger failed. Hannes Grobler and Richard Leek picked up their fourth overall win and the Class T Championship for Nissan, while in the special vehicle category there was no stopping brothers Gerard and Lawrence Duplessis in the Mobile Gymco. The Diamond Prospectors came under pressure from father and son Bodo and Gary Berthold in the Commuternet BAT and Terence Marsh and Trevor Ayer in the Nashua Mobile Gymco, but held on to pick up their fourth win of the season. Friday's prologue gets underway at noon, and each of the 80 teams entered will be required to complete one lap of the 6-kilometer short course circuit on the Carnival City Casino grounds. The action promises to be hair-raising. Highlights of the South African Off-Road Car Racing Championship are proudly presented by ABSA. For fast, flexible vehicle finance, contact your nearest ABSA branch or call 0860 669 669 or visit absa.co.za. The majority of the category and class championships in the SA Off-Road Car Racing Championship presented by ABSA, which have been closely fought affairs in both the production and special vehicle championships, would only be decided at the Carnival City Casino 400 on November 14 and 15. In the production vehicle category, proudly South African Nissan crew Hannes Grobler and Richard Leek wrapped up the overall and Class T Championship when they won the recent Toyota Dealer 400 in the Leidenburg area. This was Nissan's 14th successive victory and Grobler and Leek's 9th win in 10 outings. Newcomer to off-road racing Mark Runier and veteran co-driver Chris Birkin clinched the Class E Championship when they finished 4th overall and 1st in Class E in the Castrol Toyota Hilux 2.7i in Mpumalanga, and in the process also secured the runner-up spot in the Production Vehicle Championship. Teammates Kasi Kutsia and Okifuri in the Castrol Toyota Hilux KZTE had already secured 3rd place in the Production Vehicle Championship and are the runners-up in the Class E Championship for 4-cylinder vehicles with limited modifications.
just hold thumbs that everything went well tomorrow, because for me to finish third in the championship with a standard diesel bakkie, I'm quite surprised. I'm quite happy.
Hein Grobler and Gerrit Prinsloo in the GBS Racing Nissan Hardbody were fourth in the overall championship and leaders in the closely contested Class D. The season finale would decide the Class D championship for six-cylinder vehicles with limited modifications.
Dit is tussen my en die kort vir 'n wen of 'n tweede plek. Ons gaan baie rustig vat, ons wil net klaarmaak. As ons klaarmaak die wedren, glo ons gaan wen. So ons gaan definitief probeer rustig vat en klaarmaak die wedren. Ons soek hierdie kampioenskap. Die heel jaar hard gewerk om ons wil hom hê.
Father and son, Johan and Martinez van der Merwe in the Shivani Colt Rodeo, were fifth in the overall championship and second in the Class D championship, and Dion Skuman and Jeremy Fall in the top car Ferrari Nissan Hardbody were all in with a chance of winning the class championship. Reigning production vehicle champions Duncan Foss and Mike Griffith were sixth in the overall championship and third in the Class T championship, only 1 point behind Scott Abraham, who made a special trip from Germany to compete in the race, and co-driver Richard Carolyn in the Atlas Copco Chicago pneumatic Jeep. A strong finish in the season finale could see them gain a number of places in the overall championship, but matters were not that clear-cut in the Class T championship, where there were two crews intent on depriving Foss and Griffith of a possible runner-up spot. Arpi Reinecker and Robin Houghton in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser were seventh and hungry for an overall win after only finishing 4 events this season, with their best result being the runner-up spot on the Nissan Dealer 400. 11th place, Neil Woolridge and Ken Schulthammer in the Team Ford Racing Ranger had also only finished 4 of the 7 races run to date, but recent form indicated that they were on the pace of the Nissans and victory could just be theirs this time out.
The championships, it's gone now, and Nissan have won it already, so that's kind of out of the picture. So our strategy is to go for the race win overall, which is what it's been for most of the year anyway. Because for the first race we didn't have the new car, so we had to use the old diesel. So the championship's been a tall order for most of the year, and our strategy has always been to push really hard and win the races, which we were able to lead the last race for 100 kilometers. So it proves that we're close to the pace, and today again we'll push hard right from the beginning. We want to win the race. The championship's not really the issue for us.
The Special Vehicle Championship and the Class A, B and S Championships were wide open and would only be decided at the Carnival City Casino 400. There were a handful of contenders who were hell-bent on wresting the championship lead away from Giel Nel. Former Class B champion Nel has been a model of consistency in the single-seater Look Africa truggy and has been involved in a season-long battle for the Special Vehicle Championship lead with Class A championship leaders Gerald Mundell and Billy Bond in the Pro Long Bat. Only 27 points separate them in the Drivers' Championship, while Bond leads the Co-Drivers' Championship by 5 points from Mark de Chilane in the Roller Buck Racing JRE. Clint Gibson and Mike Brown were third and fourth respectively in the overall Drivers and Co-Drivers Championship by virtue of 3 successive Class B wins in the Presidium Financial Services bat and a second overall on the Toyota Dealer 400 in their new Class A bat. The KwaZulu-Natal crew had the race in the bag until they wrong-slotted within sight of the finish and handed the win to Mark Corbett and Joan Moore in the Century Property Developers bat. Reigning Class B champion and KwaZulu-Natal farmer Marcus Taylor in the Rollerbuck Racing JRE was fourth in the overall standings and second in Class B, while partner Mark de Chilane had already sewn up the Class B Co-Drivers Championship. Queen Motorspare's Tarka 400 and Sun City 400 winners Gary Berthold and Brandon Harkis in the Adrenalized Corporate Entertainment bat had rocketed up the leaderboard and were 5th and 3rd in the Drivers and Co-Drivers Championships respectively. They were capable of winning the Carnival City Casino 400 overall, which could secure them the Special Vehicle Championship if Nel didn't finish, and the Class A Championship.
Gerald's got 3 points on us. I'm sure he's well prepared, so the car's going to be good. We have a chance at the overall, but I think we've got more chance of falling pregnant than Giel not finishing. He has to not finish and we have to win. So more realistically, the Class A Championship, but what's nice is a bet's won it already. So whether we win it or Gerald wins it makes no real difference to us.
Nick Gosler and Warren Bowie in the O'Hagan's Kopanong Hotel Super T Raceco were 6th overall and co-leaders with Mohamed Noor and Mohamed Molson in the Super Veg Raceco in Class S. Neither crew entered the Toyota Dealer 400, so the Class S Championship would only be settled on the Carnival City Casino 400. Andrew Birkin in the WPP Wingfoot, John Moore and Fred Werner in the Shell Connex Chenoweth, and Terence Marsh and Trevor Ayer in the Nashua Mobile Gymco were 8th, 9th and 10th respectively. Carnival City Casino near Brakpan played host to the final round of the SA Off-Road Car Racing Championship presented by APSA for the 3rd successive year. 80 crews entered the event organised by the Koepel Club, and in a break with tradition, the prologue to determine starting positions for Saturday's main event would be run entirely on the site and comprise 1 lap of the 6-kilometre short course off-road circuit. Weather conditions were overcast and cold, but there had been no rain in the area for some time, and the route was expected to be dusty. Missing from the lineup would be Janil de Villiers and Francois Jordan, whose Nissan had been shipped to Nissan de Sud in France for use in Dakar 2004. Carnival City Casino General Manager Rod Walker has been involved in off-road racing since the late 1970s and has hosted many events at casino sites that he has managed. He also competed in a special vehicle for many years and would navigate for Richard Carolyn in the Jeep during the prologue and on the first lap of the main race.
We think off-road racing is a really nice spectator sort of thing to do. There's nothing directly beneficial from this, but what happens is it creates interest and activity here in the East Rand and at Brakpan. The other motivation is that I think it adds value to the whole off-road racing scene because we can do it here in a highly spectator-friendly centre. You know, the track that we have on the complex is in itself very good. And then the spectator points around the route are absolutely superb. So I think it adds value to the whole scene overall. And then me competing, well, that's your fault, as you very well know. But I'm quite happy to get back into one of the seats in the car. It's been a long time. I've got to navigate. And I've got to follow all these funny arrows, but I'm sure we'll figure it out before the end of the race.
The high-speed 6-kilometre prologue course included some rough sections and jumps that would catch more than one crew unawares. Reigning production vehicle champions Duncan Foss and Mike Griffith were determined to win their first prologue and have the privilege of starting at the head of the field on Saturday. With conditions expected to be dusty, it would be a distinct advantage to run at the head of the field, but it almost ended in disaster for the Nissan crew.
I watched Hannes. He went off first in the prologue, and I saw him coming over the first bump, and he went really high, and I thought, that's a huge jump. I'm going to have to be really careful there. And then he didn't seem to have too much of a problem with the second one, so I thought I must take it easy on the first one, but then I can go full blast for the second one, but maybe it was the wrong decision. Because I think I hit it at the wrong angle and it caught me and it tipped the car up a little bit.
Grobler revelled in the conditions with his rally driving skills coming to the fore, but nothing could have prepared him for what was to come. A rather unsettling moment for the newly crowned champions. They posted a time 1 second slower than their teammates, and here's a slow-mo view of the action.
My glasses came off. Where do we go? Here.
No.
Gary Berthold and Brandon Harkes posted the same time as Grobler and Leek and were the fastest qualifiers in the special vehicle category. The Bat Racing pair had won 2 events this season and qualified on pole last time out. Toyota Dealer 400 winner Mark Corbett and Jason Brewer were 4th fastest in the Audi V8-powered Century Property Development's Bat. Brothers Lawrence and Gerard du Plessis from Wolmerandstad were 5th in the Porsche-powered Mobile Gymco. They are a formidable pair and won 4 events in 2002 compared to this year, where Gerard has only managed 2 finishes in a season fraught with engine and gearbox problems. Class A championship leaders Gerald Mandel and Billy Bond were joint 6th in the Nissan Sugarbelt 400 winning Prolong Bat. After a strong start to the season, the KwaZulu-Natal pair struggled with gearbox and related problems, which were now hopefully a thing of the past. KwaZulu-Natal-based Clint Gibson and Mike Brown were in top form in the Presidium Financial Services Bat, in which Gibson finished 2nd by only 49 seconds on the Toyota Dealer 400. The pair also has 3 successive Class B wins to their credit this season. They were joint 6th fastest, and the scene was set for a battle royal on Saturday. Toyota 1000 winners John Ware-Smith and Jeff Minnett were 8th fastest in the O'Hagan's Kopanong Hotel Super Team Gymco. It has been a season the pair would rather forget. 7 starts and only 1 finish. The Gymco had the best suspension setup over the jumps. Neil Woolridge and Ken Schulthammer, winners of the inaugural Carnival City Casino 400 in 2001, which also happens to be the last time they won a race, were joint 9th with 3 other crews. 3 non-finishes in 7 starts have been cause for great concern for the Team Ford Racing squad, and they were hoping to redress the situation this time out. Reinecker and Houghton last won a race at the start of the 2002 season and were hoping that the handling, durability and newfound pace of the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser would be an effective counter for the all-conquering Nissans. After Voss and Grobler's low-flying experiences, Cruz adopted a somewhat cautious approach to the jumps. Veteran Nardus Albert surprised everyone with his form when he came out of a 3-year retirement at the Sun City 400. Driving the ex-Greg Dowse Toyota 1000 winning Rapsa Raceco, he and Colin Hunter were immediately on the pace and won Class S on the Toyota Dealer 400. They were the leading Class S qualifiers and would start 11th. Rob Gurney was the leading Class B qualifier in the Auto World JRE and one of 5 teams who posted the same time. He would be followed at 30-second intervals on Saturday by Class B rivals Gareth Walk, Taylor and de Chalane, and Francois Smith. Newcomers to Class D, Arnold du Plessis and George Baker in the BB Auto Nissan Hardbody outqualified Alfie Cox and Henny de Steege in the Arnold Chats Cars Nissan Hardbody by 1 second and would start 19th. Cox missed the past 2 races due to international commitments to the KTM team. Recently crowned Class E champions Mark Grenier and Chris Birkin were on the pace in the Castrol Toyota Hilux 2.7i. Their time of 5 minutes 23 seconds for the 6-kilometer course secured them the 21st starting position. Rivals Manfred Schroeder and Jack Peckham were a second slower in the Team Ford Racing Ranger and would start 24th. Class D contenders Marius van Vuren and Chris Maria in the Alberante Autospray Land Rover were one of 4 crews to complete the prologue in 5 minutes 24 seconds, but did so in a highly unorthodox manner. They were able to repair the damage overnight. Husband and wife, Niels and Zelda van der Walt, were on their way to posting a good time in the Class E Nissan Hardbody. They were one of 4 couples entered in the Carnival City Casino 400. Motorsport runs in the van der Walt family with brother Chart, a member of the Sassel Volkswagen rally team. This two-wheeled incident almost cost them the race. Colin Matthews in the Industrial Hardware WPP provided one of the heart-stopping moments during the prologue. Crews would start at 30-second intervals with the results calculated on corrected time. Unlike other events where the position a crew holds on the road is their actual position in the race, the 30-second interval would be factored into the final result, which meant that someone running well down the field could actually be leading the race.
The SA Off-Road Championship is proudly presented by ABSA. Championship is proudly presented by ABSA.
There had been some rain overnight and conditions would not be as dusty as predicted for the first of the 338-kilometer laps of the Carnival City Casino 400.
Yeah? I'm really excited. You know, I've come to within 10 seconds this year of starting on pole, but for the first time, yeah, I'll be on pole, and I'm really excited about it.
Well, we're starting first this morning. First of the specials, we seem to finish on the same time as Hannes yesterday. It's a bit of a rough section going out there today. We've got 400 kilometers of rough road, and hopefully we can keep it in front of all the rest of the specials. We need this win to win the championship, to keep Bat Racing in front for the championship this year.
The aerial visuals are courtesy of the Kopanong Hotel medical and TV helicopter and show just how muddy the short course was after the rain. Spectators turned out in their droves for what promised to be an action-packed day of racing. The route comprised 3 laps of a 138-kilometer course between Brakpan and Heidelberg, which included farmlands, dongas, quarries and mountainous terrain. The Carnival City Casino 400 would prove to be a true test of man and machine. Voss and Griffith were first away in the Nissan and knew full well that teammates Grobler and Leek would be piling on the pressure from the word go. And pile on the pressure they did. Enjoyed the ride on board the championship-winning, proudly South African Nissan Hardbody. Berthold and Harkes desperately wanted an overall win to add to Bat Racing's growing list of successes. They led the Toyota Dealer 400 until they got lost and were again in contention before they got stuck in a large hole. It was expected that the special vehicles would come into their own on the rougher sections of the route, but would lose ground to the production vehicles on the faster, smoother sections. Corbett and Brouwer were expected to mount an early attack for the lead, and based on current form, stood as good a chance of winning the race as the leading pack did. The Duplessis brothers, with Lawrence at the wheel, are well known for their hard-charging style right from the start of the race. If the Jimco stayed together, and if Lawrence wasn't overcome by motion sickness, which saw him sit out the past 7 events, victory could be theirs. Mandel and Bond could only hope that ongoing gearbox and driveline problems did not rob them of the Class A championship, while Gibson would certainly not want a repeat of the Toyota Dealer 400, where he got lost coming into the finish with a race win in the bag and on 3 wheels to boot, and handed the victory to Corbett and Moore on a plate. Weir Smith and Minnett, back in the navigator's seat after a 2-race layoff due to a hand injury, were in a confident frame of mind before the start and had decided to adopt a more cautious strategy aimed at preserving the Jimco and hopefully securing the race win. Woolridge and Scholthammer survived a horrendous high-speed crash on last year's Carnival City Casino 400 which necessitated a complete rebuild of the Ford at SBM in France. Here's a look at what happened last year. Reinicke and Houghton, like the Ford pair, were hell-bent on ending Nissan's dominance and had decided to mount a charge for the lead right from the start of the race. They'd been plagued by gearbox and drivetrain problems earlier in the season, but these now appear to have been solved. Enjoy the ride.
Wipers? That's on.
Grobler and Leek had closed the gap on their Nissan teammates to less than 30 seconds and were leading the race on corrected time, but Voss and Griffith were not going to be easy to overtake. They had made a successful transition from the near-standard Class D Nissan to the high-powered Class T machine. On board with Grobler and Leek as they homed in for the kill. Voss and Griffith wrong-slotted and the champions were well on their way, or so they thought. That was a cheeky move from Voss. Meanwhile, Berthold and Harkes were third and the leading special vehicle, and were closing in on the two Nissan crews who were going at it hammer and tongs. Grobler tried a cheeky move of his own. It didn't work out as planned and earned him a reprimand from Leek. Corbett and Brouwer were fourth overall and second in the special vehicle category, while up ahead the two Nissan crews were still fighting tooth and nail for their overall position on the road. The shrill-sounding alarm was the new overtaking system installed in all vehicles, which is a proximity sensor that is effective at 30 meters. Anyone wishing to overtake activates his unit, which sounds off an alarm in the vehicle ahead, whose crew acknowledges that they have heard the alarm and will move over by activating their system, which in turn sounds an alarm in the vehicle wishing to overtake. Grobler and Leek were back in their customary #1 position on the road. The problem with corrected time scoring is that the leading vehicles usually do not know how much time their rivals have gained on them. While Grobler and Voss were fighting it out, Woolridge quietly went about gaining as much time on them as possible, and was in fact the race leader at this point. On board with Grobler and Leek as they approached a mud patch. They overshot and were bumped by Voss, which damaged the cooling system on his Nissan. Grobler got away cleanly, but the incident cost him time and allowed Berthold and Harkes to close to within 30 meters, as the overtaking Hutter alarm confirmed. The Bat Racing pair seemed to be a little impatient, and with good cause. They wanted the #1 spot on the road, and now they had it. Gareth Walk in the O'Hagan's Kopanong Hotel Super Team Mighty Mag was involved in an almighty battle for the Class B lead with Rob Gurney from KwaZulu-Natal, who took advantage of this moment to regain the leading position on the road. Walk's charge would be short-lived, however. A faulty fuel injector throttle body sensor forced them to retire from the race on lap 1. Reinicke and Houghton were out of luck as well. A broken rear side shaft almost put paid to their challenge, but they decided to complete lap 1 with only front-wheel drive.
Okay, wat moet ek doen om net? Ja, jy moet net hier tot sit. Ek gaan hom losmaak, dan kan jy hom heen en weer alles doen. Okay, maar waar is hy gelok nou? Hy is hier so onder die rad. Nee, maar waar moet hy lok wees hierso? Jy stoot hom net tot daai lug op. Sorry, lug aan. Een vorentoe, né? Hè? Ja, vorentoe, een agtertoe. Ja. Net as jy die lug sien, dan kyk jy.
It was a disastrous end to the Carnival City Casino 400 for Voss and Griffith.
Yeah, we were following Hannes very closely, and he overshot and it was so slippery on the right hand left corner. He hit the brakes and we just quit playing straight into him.
How did you guys go?
The radiator's punctured and well, so yeah.
It was a case of 1 down and 1 to go for Woolridge and Scholthammer as they passed the stricken Nissan and continued to increase their lead over Grobler and Leek. Rob Gurney was the Class B leader at this point, but the clutch master cylinder failed and he retired at the end of lap 2. Class D leaders Alfie Cox and Henny Terstegen had moved from 20th to 10th on the road, but the runner-up on the recent UAE Desert Challenge blotted his copybook when he mistimed this tricky section of the route. Not too much time lost there. The field was still tightly bunched, with crews jockeying for position. Mark Renier and Chris Birkin made short work of Francois Smith in the Class B Frannick and set about getting past Frikkie Botha and Melville Priest in the Pro Coat Jimco. All Renier's hard work almost came to naught with this overshoot. Schroeder and Peckham have not had the best of seasons in the Class E Team Ford Racing Ranger and can lay claim to only one class win on the Nissan Sugarbelt 400. Former special vehicle champions and winners of numerous Roof of Africa rallies, Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne, overdid it in the Class S leading Mototech Raceco. A spate of punctures didn't help matters either. 23 Class B vehicles entered the event and the competition was fiercer than ever. Henrik Steyn and Renier Jooste were on a charge in the Atlas Copco Bat, in which Clint Gibson and Mike Brown won the class on 3 successive occasions. Special Vehicle Championship leader Gil Nel certainly had the odds stacked against him and would have to pull out all the stops if he wanted to win the coveted title. Nell's consistency in the Look Africa Truggy has seen him win the Class B title 3 times in 5 years. Coetzee Labuschagne and Johan Gerber were second in Class D in one of 4 GBS Racing Nissan hardbody pickups entered in the event, while the Van Reenen father and son combination were 5th in Class T in the DC Racing Nissan Terrano. There was a bit of confusion here, with neither the Van Reenens nor Arnold Pistorius and Jurg Steyn knowing which way to go. Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst were second in Class E in the 2002 championship-winning Toyota Hilux. Vodacom Sports prototype driver James Kennelly took advantage of Visser's mistake and set off in pursuit of the rest of the Class B field. Reinicke and Houghton had dropped to 47th and were simply intent on getting back to the pits so that the Toyota could be repaired. Woolridge and Scholthammer were in the lead on corrected time after lap 1 and had over 2 minutes in hand over Grobler and Leek. The Ford Ranger hadn't missed a beat and the crew was in top form. Proudly South African Nissan pair, Grobler and Leek, were second overall in the production vehicle category and were not too happy that they had lost time to the Ford pair when they couldn't find the return route to the pits at Carnival City Casino. Mark Grenier and Chris Birkin were third overall and the Class E leaders in the Castrol Toyota Hilux 2.7i. Class D leaders Alfie Cox and Henny Testege were fourth overall in the Arnold Chats Cars Nissan Hardbody. They already had 2 class wins from 2 finishes and a third was within their grasp. Richard Carolyn and Carnival City Casino GM Rod Walker started 52nd and had worked their way up to 5th overall and 3rd in Class T in the Atlas Copco Chicago pneumatic Jeep. Father and son, Cliff and Louis Weichelt, in the N1 4x4 Toyota Land Cruiser, who were 12th overall and 3rd in Class D on corrected time, were chasing them hard. And so too were Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst in the 6th place Toyota Hilux, which won last year's Class E championship. Castrol Toyota crew Cassie Kutsia and Oki Fourie were 7th overall and 3rd in Class E, while Kutsia Labeskagni and Johan Gerber were 11th overall and 2nd in Class D in the GBS Racing Nissan Hardbody. The battle continued to rage in the special vehicle category with Class A championship leaders Gerald Mandel and Billy Bond in the prolonged bat in the lead after lap 1. Diamond prospectors Lawrence and Gerard du Plessis were 2nd overall and in Class A in the mobile Jimco and 58 seconds adrift of the leaders, but only 9 seconds ahead of Mark Corbett and Jason Brouwer in the Audi V8-powered Century Property Developments bat. The Toyota Dealer 400 winner was 17 seconds ahead of early race leaders Gary Berthold and Brandon Harkes in the adrenalized corporate entertainment bat. Brothers Glenn and Warren Klaassen were 7th overall and the Class B leaders in the Radflow Zarco Light, while Nardus Alberts and Colin Hunter held down 8th and the Class S lead in the Rapsa Raceco. Gil Nell's only concern was to finish in the points and win the Special Vehicle Drivers' Championship in his ultra-reliable Look Africa Truggy. But he had reigning Class B champions Taylor and the Shillane in the Rollerbuck Racing JRE, who were only 26 seconds behind, breathing down his neck. Schilling and Thorne were slowed by a puncture, but still going strong, and were 2nd in Class S in the Nissan V6-powered Mototech Raceco. Class S Drivers' Championship leader Nick Gosler and Warren Bowie in the O'Hagan's Kopanong Hotel Super Team Raceco were 3rd in Class S and didn't even have to finish to secure the title in his debut year.
The SA Off-Road Championship is proudly presented by ABSA.
Dealer 400 and Oven Fresh Biscuits 500 winners Atang Makhehenene and Mike Stangel's race came to an early end.
And it's missing now too, it's running out of juice already here. Rather be stuck here than be stuck in the field.
We run into alternator problems. Batteries are not charging, we're not getting power. And for the past 20 minutes, and we decided to stop here at the road crossing to see if we can solve the problem. But it doesn't look like we're getting any luck. So we decided to pull out.
All right, let's go.
It was a sad end to a frustrating season in which they only completed 2 of the 8 races, which they happened to win. The Carnival City Casino 400 provided spectators with ample opportunities to see the action, and companies such as championship sponsor ABSA took full advantage of these opportunities to entertain a number of guests. Grobler and Leek never failed to please the fans. Despite being the first vehicle on the road, they were actually 6th in the overall standings and 2nd in the production vehicle category. The same applied to Berthold and Harkes. They may have been the first special vehicle on the road, but were in fact second overall and trailing new leaders Lawrence and Gerard du Plessis by just over a minute. Corbett and Brouwer were third overall in the special vehicle category and had the du Plessis brothers closing in fast. Production vehicle category leaders Neil Woolridge and Ken Schulthammer maintained the gap between themselves and the surviving Class T Nissan of Grobler and Leek. The Team Ford Racing Ranger was standing up well to the punishment on an event that had already claimed almost 50% of the field on lap 1. Mundell and Bond had dropped back down the field after a rear brake caliper on the prolonged bat broke off, forcing them to complete lap 2 with only front brakes. Toyota Dealer 400 runner-up Clint Gibson and Mike Brown were fourth overall in the Presidium Financial Services bat, but 20 minutes down on the leaders after picking up a puncture. There was no stopping Nardus Alberts and Colin Hunter, who were the runaway leaders in Class S and 9th overall in the Rapsar race code. Mark Renier and Chris Birkin were on a charge in the Castrol Toyota Hilux 2.7i and, barring any problems, had Class E in the bag. There was also a strong likelihood of another podium finish for the reigning Rotax Max World Karting Champion. Cox and Ter Steege continued their charge and were fourth overall and first in Class D. But their luck would finally run out when the engine in the Arnold Chatz car's Nissan hardbody cried enough. Husband and wife Gey and Caroline Jooster were sixth overall in the Atlas Copco Sandmaster in only their second national championship race. The Klaassen brothers had relinquished the Class B lead to reigning Class B champions Marcus Taylor and Mark de Chelane in the Rollerbuck Racing JRE, who were now just over a minute ahead of Giel Nel.
As soon as the heli lands, you must start walking.
APSA guests enjoyed a bird's eye view of the racing action. Kane Farmers, Manfred Schroeder and Jack Peckham were having a good run in the second-placed Class E Team Ford Racing Ranger, but it would all come to an end 30 kilometers later when the clutch failed. Brothers Hamish and Alistair Stubbs were well placed in the Class B Fence Erect Viper, built by off-road veteran George Horn. Unfortunately, they were unable to complete the event. Class D contenders Labuschagne and Gerber were second in class and had teammates Hein Grobler and Gerard Prinsloo closing in fast in their GBS Racing Nissan hardbody. Off-road racing is a family affair, and Mark Corbett's father, Ernest, also competes in a Class B bat. He and Warwick Goosen were handily placed in the special vehicle category. The Jeep, with Scott Abraham now at the wheel and Carolyn in the navigator seat, was 7th overall in the production vehicle category and 3rd in Class T, but this left rear puncture could cost them dearly. The wheel spanner on board did not fit the wheel nuts, and they lost 40 minutes trying whatever means at their disposal to get the wheel off. Reinecker and Houghton stopped in the pits after lap 1 to have the rear differential repaired and were now back in the race and making their way through the field. Roy Slubber and Gerard Victor needed a little nudge to get them to move over for the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser. Problems for Grobler and Leek in the proudly South African Nissan hardbody.
It was Scotty. I wanted to say Spotty, would it? We've shared some bolts on the steering rack, about 50 kilos back, and there was only one bolt holding it up to here, and then the last one broke on a jump here, so we just stopped to have a look, and we decided to pull out.
We certainly had better days, that's for sure, but after 14 straight victories on the trot. Now, I think the party's got to come to an end, and today was where it was going to be.
The battle for the overall lead in the special vehicle category continued unabated. The Duplessis brothers stormed past Berthel and Harkus, and they were now 93 seconds ahead on corrected time. Berthold and Harkus had been slowed by a puncture and were now intent on making up as much lost ground as possible. They couldn't afford to let up their pace for 1 second because arch rivals Corbett and Brouwer were only 16 seconds behind them. 29-year-old Corbett has been racing for 7 years, during which time he has won a number of events, including the Roof of Africa and the Toyota 1000 in the Jimco, now being campaigned by Nashua Mobile Racing crew Terence Marsh and Trevor Ayer. Clint Gibson and Mike Brown were third overall in the special vehicle category and in Class A, and over 20 minutes behind the leaders with just over a lap to go. John Moore was fourth overall and driving solo in the Shell Connex Chenoweth after navigator Fred Werner injured his back when they crashed on the Toyota Dealer 400. The passenger was in fact a blow-up doll. Class B leaders Taylor and Deschelaine were fifth overall in the special vehicle category in the JRE built by former saloon car champion John Rowe. Alberts and Hunter maintained a steady pace. They were sixth overall and had led Class S from the start of the Carnival City Casino 400. Newcomers Downey Murray and Andrew Utterson were seventh overall in the Intelligence Bat and were heading for their second finish of the season. Lurking somewhere in Chris Visser's dust was Gil Nel. Mr. Consistency, as he is known, had already made his way through the field and was 8th overall and 2nd in Class B, with Gay and Caroline Houston 9th in the Atlas Copco Sandmaster, and Roy Slubber and Gerard Victor 10th in the Chevy Special. Slubber collapsed after the race with a suspected heart attack, but he was diagnosed with low blood pressure and soon recovered. Lawrence and Gerard Duplessis were slowed when a stone broke an oil pipe on the Porsche engine. They were able to make running repairs and finally finished 11th overall in the special vehicle category, ahead of Class S runners-up Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne, who suffered 4 punctures in the race. Francois Smith went on to finish 13th overall and 3rd in Class B in the single-seater Frannick, and Weir Smith and Minute overcame a host of problems to finish 14th overall. Sadly, Mundell and Bond's quest for the Class A championship came to nothing.
With the heat on the CV bolts, we've actually stripped the CV bolts themselves, and we're not going to get them off. We don't know what to do. But keep trying. Doesn't look good.
Weir Smith and Minute picked up 4 punctures, and a faulty power steering caused the Super Team Jimco to veer off course without warning, resulting in a high-speed collision with a concrete culvert. Henry Stein and Renier Jooster brought their Atlas Copco Bat home 15th overall and 4th in Class B, while the proudly South African Zarko Light recorded its first race finish when Hendrik and Louis Fourie finished 16th overall and 5th in Class B. Gary Goldschmidt was one of only 7 of the 23 Class B starters to survive the Carnival City Casino 400 and finished 17th overall with Derek and Peter DeWitt 18th in the Industrial Hardware Orca. 18 of the 39 special vehicle starters survived the grueling event.
The SA Off-Road Championship is proudly presented by ABSA. Championship is proudly presented by ABSA.
The long overdue victory for Team Ford racing pair Neil Woolridge and Ken Schulthammer was a foregone conclusion in the closing stages of the race. Mark Renier and Chris Birkin were on their way to another remarkable podium finish in the Class E Castrol Toyota Hilux 2.7i. They had finished in the top 3 overall on 3 previous occasions and would end up being the only crew to finish all 8 events in the championship. In another giant-killing performance, Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst were 3rd overall and 2nd in Class E in their Toyota Hilux, which completed the race with rear-wheel drive. Kutsia Labiskagni and Johan Gerber were 4th overall and the Class D leaders in the GBS Racing Nissan, and had over 4 minutes in hand over rivals Marius van Vuren and Chris Maria in the Almirante Autospray Land Rover, which had suffered a broken steering rod on lap 1 that cost them 20 minutes to repair. They later lost front-wheel drive, but were able to continue and finish 5th overall and 2nd in Class D. Api Reyneke and Robin Houghton made a great comeback on lap 2, but then a rear drive shaft failed again, and they had to complete the final lap with only front-wheel drive on the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser. 6th overall and 2nd in Class T was just reward for their never-say-die effort. Polokwane-based brothers Yuri and Andre Duplessis were 7th overall and 3rd in Class E in the BB Auto Nissan Hardbody. They had a clean run and could add another podium finish to the 2 they already had. Hein Grobler and Gerard Prinsloo were not concerned about the Class D win because all they had to do was finish to win the Class D championship. They had a tense moment on lap 2 when a side shaft broke that necessitated a lengthy pit stop for repairs. Cliff and Louis Weichelt were 9th overall in the N1 4x4 Toyota Land Cruiser after a race-long tussle with the Atlas Copco Chicago pneumatic Jeep of Scott Abraham and Richard Carolyn, who ended the season level on points with Woolridge and Schulthammer, but were relegated to 3rd place in the Class T championship by virtue of the Ford pair having 1 class win to their credit. Despite having to stop repeatedly to secure the bonnet on the DC Racing Nissan Terrano, the Van Reenen father and son crew managed to finish 11th overall and 4th in Class T, with Barbaspan farmer Jannie Visser and Joks Leroux 12th overall and 5th in the class in the Toyota Hilux. Brothers Mark and Stuart Moffat brought the McCarthy Land Rover home 13th overall and 5th in Class D to record their 4th finish of the season, and were followed by the Class D Toyota Land Cruiser of Dion Venter and Rikus Erasmus, and last-placed finishers and Class F winners Jaap Zeeman and Johannes Bauwise in the DFS Ferrobrake Ford Cortina. The BP Nissan Harvard aerobatic team thrilled the crowd at the finish of the Carnival City Casino 400. Gary Berthold and Brandon Harkes had finally achieved their objective of winning a race overall. They did it in fine style, finishing almost 8 minutes ahead of the first production vehicle and over 30 minutes ahead of the next special vehicle. Bat Racing Vehicles had won 5 of the 8 rounds of the SA Off-Road Car Racing Championship presented by ABSA and picked up the Class A Championship in the process.
It's taken us a long time to beat those Nissans, and I'm very glad that we were the ones that did it. First special vehicle in our Bat managed to give the Nissans a run for their money. Also means the South African Championship for me as a driver and for Brandon as a navigator. This year, that was how we chose to do it, and South African Championship for Bat, which is really great.
Neil Woolridge and Ken Schulthammer's dream of being the ones to break the Nissan stranglehold on the production vehicle category was finally realized. The Team Ford Racing Ranger hadn't missed a beat all day and had the measure of the Nissans while they were still running. The Ford pair won the inaugural Carnival City Casino 400 in 2001, and victory was again theirs on an event that was voted the best organized in 2003.
Been 2 years. This Carnival City's been a race of great hopes, and also a terrible thing. You know, last year we nearly wrote ourselves off and wrote the car off, so it wasn't good at all. But the year before in the wet, I think the first Carnival City we won, and we've now won it again. So yeah, it's fantastic to win again and break that Nissan stronghold. It's been a great race.
Number 1.
Mark Renier and Chris Birkin stormed home 2nd overall to cap a highly successful season.
What a run.
and jeez, we were crawling the last couple of Ks. Yes, like I thought the guys were going to catch us, but fortunately, I don't know, they must have had problems as well. We were really, really taking it easy. The gearbox, third gear launched itself. We just heard this funny grating noise, and it just kept grating for about 30 or 40 Ks, and must have smacked a hole in the gearbox, and it got quiet. But then we saw the diff, and the gearbox temperatures get cool, so I'm sure there's no oil in the box. Just glad to get it to the end there.
The Class S win went to Nardus Alberts and Colin Hunter in the Rapsa Raceco.
Well, we competed this time around. Fortunately, we had some competition in Class S, so that went better. The road conditions were very rough. There were some areas which I believe seemed to be a car breaker. I do not know how many cars have finished eventually, but it's very rough. But barring that, it's a beautiful terrain to race at. It's really special.
We've had the most stupid little problems, literally 5-cent parts that have gone wrong, and we've been leading most of the time this year. And just bad luck all the way through, but it's really great to make it through this today. It was a fantastic race. And it's a pity that all the guys dropped out. There were 24 entries, and it seems like there's only 2 left that I know of. Well, the guys we've been giving the times of Giel, he's about 13 behind. And fantastic race.
Giel Nell's consistency was rewarded with the SA Off-Road Car Racing Special Vehicle Drivers and Class B Drivers Championship crowns. Meticulous preparation has seen Nell finish more races in the Look Africa Truggy than any other team in the past 5 years.
It's a great feeling, taking the Class B again for the 3rd time in 5 years. And we've been twice overall in South Africa, twice, and then 3 times. Now, also twice we've been 3rd, and now we've got, by the sound of it, we've got the overall championship. So it's a great feeling.
Former Class D champions Hein Grobler and Gerard Prinsloo finally reclaimed the crown they lost a few years ago when they crossed the finish line 8th overall and 3rd in Class D in the GBS Racing Nissan.
Uiteindelik het reg gekry. Met baie hard gewerk daarvoor en met vir my span baie dankie sê almal van hulle wat deel was van hierdie span. Dit was 'n wonderlike jaar gewees vir my. Dit was baie lekker om saam in hierdie span te wees. Ek is bevoorreg om dit te kon gedoen het. Baie dankie vir almal.
3 overall wins and the Class A championship for Bat Racing pair Gary Berthold and Brandon Harkis. Only 18 of the 39 special vehicle entries were able to complete the Carnival City Casino 400. The moment for which Team Ford Racing, Neil Woolridge and Ken Schultheimer had waited for 2 years had finally come. 15 of the 37 production vehicle starters were able to complete the grueling Carnival City Casino 400. Highlights of the SA Off-Road Car Racing Championship were proudly presented by ABSA.